And what I will simply say is I don't know all of the details. I don't know all of the facts surrounding the case. I have yet to see a fact or a piece of evidence that suggests any foul play. But if there is, I feel confident that the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the members at the Department of Public Safety that deal with these crimes, if there had been one, they will find it and they will do what is necessary.
12 miles off the Mississippi coast, there's an island you can only reach by boat. On the 4th of July, it fills up with music, coolers, and teenagers celebrating summer. You're standing on that beach now. The sun is high, everybody is laughing, and somewhere in that crowd is an 18-year-old named Nolan Wells, who has no idea that in a few hours the boat he came on will leave without him. 2 days later, a park ranger will find his body floating in the water at the edge of that same island. No one has been charged with a crime. Officially, no one even knows how he died. But this week, new audio surfaced from the day he vanished. The FBI is now involved, and a grand jury is waiting at the end of it all. Before we go any further, do me a favor. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because Crime News Daily follows cases like this one until the questions get answered. Now, let's go back. Ocean Springs, Mississippi, a small coastal town where everybody seems to know everybody. Nolan Xavier Wells grew up here. 6'1", 180 pounds, a football player, first at Ocean Springs High School and then at Southwest Mississippi Community College, where he'd signed the year before, telling a local reporter it was a blessing to keep playing alongside his best friends. His mother, Christine, called him the kindest soul, a kid who never met a stranger. His father, Elmore, said he was the funniest one in the family, the boy who once broke up his parents' argument by running into the room in his diaper and dancing until they laughed. On the night of July 3rd, Nolan cooked dinner for his parents. Then he told his mom he loved her, gave her a hug and a kiss, and headed out to spend the night at a friend's house. It was an ordinary goodbye, the kind you say 1,000 times without thinking. His mother had no way of knowing it would be the last one. The next morning, July 4th, Nolan and a group of friends loaded onto a boat for a holiday trip to Horn Island, a barrier island out in the Mississippi Sound, part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore. It's wild, unspoiled federal land. No roads, no houses, no way on or off except the water. Thousands of families make the run out there every summer, and on the 4th of July, its beaches turn into one long floating party. GPS data, later obtained by CBS from the state's Department of Marine Resources, tracks the whole journey. The boat left a private dock in the Ocean Springs area at 9:56 a.m. It reached Horn Island at 11:14. For the next few hours, it was exactly what it was supposed to be: a beach, a boat, a 4th of July. According to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, and according to his friends, the last time anyone in the group saw Nolan was around 3 p.m., near the island. Hold on to that time, because what happens in the next 90 minutes is now the center of a national investigation. At 4:31 p.m., the GPS data shows the boat pulling away from Horn Island. Nolan was not on it. His friends would later say he chose to stay behind, planning to catch a ride back with another group. The stepmother of one of the boys said the group left early because the boat was having mechanical trouble and taking on water. The sheriff repeated that account. From what we understand, he chose to stay there. That's the version investigators were given. The data shows the boat reached the mainland just after 6 p.m., and later that evening it was pulled from the water and trailered to its owner's home. But Nolan's parents don't believe their son would ever have stayed out there alone. They say they raised him on one simple rule: if you go out with 5, you come home with 5. He always answered, "Yes, sir." So why would he break the one rule he never broke? That question was still hanging in the air at 11 o'clock that night when Christine Wansley's phone rang. It was one of the boys from the boat, and nothing about what happened next would make the family feel any better. Picture Christine that night, phone in hand, listening to one of her son's friends on the other end. It was just after 11 p.m., and Nolan hadn't come home. Around that same hour, the Coast Guard says it received a call from one of Nolan's friends too, a call the agency would only describe as not requiring Coast Guard assistance. Christine started making calls of her own. A family friend checked Nolan's Snapchat location. Then Christine opened Life 360, the family tracking app, and what she saw made no sense. The two apps showed two completely different things, and Life 360 showed his phone was back on land. His phone. But where was Nolan? Around midnight, she started calling law enforcement, and she says she got bounced between agencies because the island sits out in the Sound where jurisdiction gets murky. Eventually, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office opened a report, and in the early hours of the morning, Nolan's parents sat in a McDonald's parking lot, telling a deputy everything they knew. While all of that was unfolding, the family went to collect Nolan's things. A friend of Christine's picked up his phone from one house. His father drove to another to retrieve his car and keys. The parents later said they had issues getting those items back, though they didn't spell out exactly what that meant. And then came the detail that gnawed at Christine most of all. When she and her sister finally went through Nolan's phone, she found something strange. Nolan was the kid who documented everything, always posting, always filming. But from July 4th, from a beach party on an island, his Snapchat had nothing. No photos, no videos, not one. To his mother, that silence felt wrong, and she has said publicly she believes something may have been deleted. Investigators have not confirmed that, but it became one more question on a list that was growing by the hour. The family was brought to the coroner's office in Pascagoula. By early afternoon, Christine confirmed it on Facebook. The body was Nolan. 2 days on a national seashore, and he was found less than a mile of coastline from where the party had been. Here is where the case takes its turn. The coroner, Bruce Lind, said there were no immediate, obvious signs of trauma or foul play. Investigators initially said they suspected a drowning, and the sheriff's office classified this as a death investigation, not a homicide. But because of the uncertain circumstances, a full autopsy was ordered at the state medical examiner's office, and its results are still locked behind pending toxicology tests, which can take weeks. Within a day, the family retained civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who arranged for Nolan's body to be flown to Washington for a second, independent autopsy. And that's when the questions became a storm. Crump says the witness accounts don't line up. The boys said Nolan stayed behind to talk to a girl. The girl, he says, told his team that Nolan said he was heading back to the boat. They're not saying the same thing, Crump argued. One of them is telling the truth, and one is not. The case also carried a weight no one could ignore. Nolan appeared to be the only black teenager in the group, in a state whose history makes his family's fear of an incomplete investigation impossible to dismiss. Reverend Al Sharpton stood with the family in New York and put it plainly. Don't rush to judgment that this was about race, he said, but don't rush to judgment that it wasn't, because we do not know. And then a video started spreading online. The video appeared to capture an argument on the island, and social media decided it showed Nolan in a confrontation. Millions ran with that theory, alongside AI-generated images and fake clips that spread just as fast as the real ones. Then a young man named Trayston Shepard came forward on national television and said the voice everyone assumed was Nolan's was actually his own. He was the one yelling in that clip, he said, and he called Nolan his best friend. The sheriff's office has never confirmed that any fight involving Nolan happened at all, though it has asked the public for original, unedited photos and videos of any alleged altercation or unusual activity from the island that day. More than 60 witnesses have now been interviewed, including the 3 friends who rode out on the boat with him. And this week, something new finally surfaced. Actual audio from the day Nolan disappeared. The recordings were obtained by national news outlets through public records requests, and they capture a call made from the boat as it was leaving Horn Island. On the audio, one of the teens is calling a private towing company. The bilge pump has failed. The boat is taking on water. You can hear him say, "We're sinking. Can y'all please come?" The dispatcher asks if everyone on board is in good health. The caller answers yes, everyone is on board. Reports place the call somewhere between 3 and 4 p.m., in the same window after Nolan was last seen. The audio matters for two reasons. It supports the account that the boat really was in trouble when it left early, and at the same time, it documents the group confirming everyone on board was fine, while Nolan was still somewhere on that island. Then came the confirmation that made national headlines. Sheriff John Ledbetter revealed the FBI is now assisting his office, specifically with examining the digital evidence collected so far. He stressed this is not unusual since Horn Island sits on federal land. But the FBI itself added something darker. The Bureau says it is working to address interstate threats received by people connected to this case. Because as speculation exploded online, real families started getting death threats. The family of one of the boys on the boat posted screenshots of them. Trayston Shepard says he and other friends have received them too. The case will not end in the shadows either. The district attorney, Angel Myers McElrath, met with Nolan's family this week and confirmed that once the investigation is complete, it will be presented to a grand jury, which is standard procedure in that county for unnatural or suspicious deaths. So where does that leave us? Be careful with this part, because it matters. No one has been arrested. No one has been charged. In this country, even someone formally accused of a crime is presumed innocent until a court decides otherwise. And in this case, investigators have not even confirmed that a crime occurred. What we have is a mother and father burying their son without answers. 2 autopsies still unreleased. Contradictions that attorneys say must be resolved. And a grand jury waiting at the end of it all. If this story moved you, subscribe so you're here when those answers come. On Monday, Nolan's family will lay him to rest at Center Point Church in Ocean Springs, with a celebration of his life to follow at the county fairgrounds. Filmmaker Tyler Perry has reportedly covered the funeral costs. His coaches remember a young man whose character spoke louder than his accomplishments. His mother remembers the kindest soul she ever knew. If you were on Horn Island on July 4, or you have original photos or videos from that day, investigators are asking you to call the Jackson County Sheriff's Office at 228-769-3063. Even a small detail could matter more than you think. His name was Nolan Xavier Wells. He was 18 years old, and his family deserves the truth. For Crime News Daily, thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay with us.